In the vibrant heart of San Francisco, the Orpheum Theatre glows under golden lights on what promises to be a historic night. Inside, it's not just the Art Deco architecture that captivates. It's the invisible tension between two worlds. The camera pans slowly, almost ceremonially, revealing an audience divided between the giants of the old guard and the sharp-faced youth of the new generation. Esteemed directors adjust their lapels beside mid-career influencers live streaming the event. A refined murmur fills the air, as if everyone senses that more than just a tribute is about to unfold. On stage, the host, Kendra Miles, holds the golden envelope with restrained theatricality. Behind her, the screen displays a montage of films that defined decades. Dusty car chases, lone vigilantes, silences more eloquent than speeches. The crowd quiets. Kendra raises the microphone, her eyes glinting with practiced charm. And with great honor, we present the Cinematic Legacy Medal to Clint Eastwood. The name lingers in the air like a seal of approval. From the wings, Clint emerges. At 94, he walks with the deliberate pace of an icon, as if each step were part of a final script. The audience rises. Applause erupts, though not unanimous. There's reverence, yes, but also skepticism. In the fourth row, arms crossed, gaze fixed, Robert Darrow. 36 years old, star of indie films, a thorn in the side of the cultural establishment. The clash, though invisible, has already begun. Clint Eastwood steps up to the microphone like a man facing an old friend. The room falls silent in an instant, as if the world is holding its breath. Everyone expects one of his legendary quips, a dry joke, a behind-the-scenes anecdote, something to crown his storied career with grace. But Clint just takes a deep breath, scans the crowd for a few eternal seconds, and then says with a half-smile, "Thank you. I think tonight, I'd rather not speak." A heavy silence settles, as if the theater itself has recoiled. For a moment, no one understands. Then, nervous laughter trickles in, scattered applause from those trying to fill the void. Clint simply nods and begins his exit. It's quick, understated, almost anticlimactic, and perhaps it's what makes it so powerful. Backstage, murmurs ripple into tense whispers. Crew members exchange glances, producers huddle in discussion. But it's in the audience that the unexpected happens. Unannounced, uninvited, Robert Darrow stands. His dark suit looks like part of a meticulously chosen costume for this moment. He strides to the stage with deliberate steps, as if the ceremony has now shifted into something else. Robert's move took me by surprise and, honestly, provoked me. There's courage in it, yes, but also something overly theatrical. Clint's choice of silence is a statement in itself, perhaps the final act of an artist who never needed to shout to be heard. Robert, on the other hand, doesn't seem motivated by reverence or dialogue, but by an almost compulsive need to respond, as if he can't bear the absence of words. Yet this interruption isn't baseless. It carries the weight of a generation that lives with a microphone always on. Robert, without uttering a single word yet, has already split the theater into two camps, those who see insolence and those who see bravery. As he grips the microphone with both hands, silence returns, more uncomfortable, more charged. Clint watches from the wings. What was meant as a tribute has become a duel. Robert Darrow holds the microphone like a sacred totem. The lights don't shift. The background music fades. The audience's murmurs vanish. There's only him, standing center stage before a crowd that wasn't warned they were about to witness something, maybe a disruption, maybe a breakdown, or perhaps a manifesto. He doesn't think. He doesn't smile. He doesn't retreat. He won for legacy and chose not to speak. They call it elegance. I call it omission. The silence now is different. Not respect. Tension. A thin line between discomfort and defiance. Some in the audience exchange uneasy glances. Others have already raised their phones, not to capture a tribute, but to document what feels like a mutiny. Clint's face appears on the screen, watching from backstage. His eyes are steady, almost impassive, but not indifferent. Robert continues. Silence is a luxury for those who've never been silenced. Pause. Long calculated. Because those who've never had to swallow their own history tend to find beauty in staying quiet. The moment divides. Literally. You can feel it. Some nod in approval. Others lean back in their seats, outraged. The camera cuts because, yes, official and clandestine cameras are rolling. Show mixed reactions. Admiration, shock, disapproval. And now, here's the question for you watching. Did Robert go too far? Or did he say what many think but lack the courage to voice? Is Clint's silence strength or cowardice? And you, would you stay quiet in respect or speak up in confrontation? In the comments, we want to know, which side of this conversation are you on? Because in this moment, more than a generational divide, what's at stake is the definition of voice. And also legacy. Does every story need to be told out loud? Or can silence, too, be a signature? The image of the stage frozen in this standoff feels more cinematic than any prepared speech. The confrontation hasn't truly begun, but everyone senses it's inevitable. And when it comes, there'll be no script. Clint Eastwood reappears. No announcement, no fanfare, no ceremony. Just measured, firm, almost defiant steps. The sound of his shoes echoes as Robert remains static, still gripping the microphone. The cameras pivot to Clint. The audience holds its breath. No one knows whether to applaud or just watch. He stops beside Robert. Doesn't face him immediately. Just looks at the crowd, as if recognizing an old set. Then he turns to the young actor and speaks, his voice steady, no anger, just conviction. You talk as if history began when you were born. The line lands like a stone in still water. The crowd reacts in silence, waiting for the next move. Robert smiles, not in mockery, but anticipation. And you act as if it ended when you grew up, he counters without hesitation. The clash, until now abstract, takes shape. 2 generations, 2 styles, 2 worlds. One representing the cinema built on quiet resistance. The other, the era of constant exposure and visible activism. My legacy isn't words, Clint says. It's films no one dared to make. And I made them in silence. And maybe that's why they age as poorly as ideas that refuse to change. Robert fires back, staring straight at him, challenging not just the man, but everything he represents. Clint takes a deep breath. The world changes, kid. But character doesn't need Wi-Fi. The audience releases a mix of laughter, gasps, and murmurs. Each line feels like a carefully chosen weapon. Neither man raises his voice. No shouting, just sharp, surgical words. The tension doesn't come from what might be said, but from what already has been. Every reply carries decades of cinema, politics, culture, and silence. The crowd knows this moment is no longer about an award. It's about which voice defines the present and which will shape the future. They stand face to face. And for the first time, no one wants the show to go on. They just want to see what happens when 2 worlds refuse to yield. The showdown between Clint Eastwood and Robert Darrow lasts less than 5 minutes. But it's enough to set the digital world ablaze. The guest cameras, the influencers' phones, the broadcast lenses, everything captures it. In seconds, the clips begin circulating. Edited snippets are slapped with dramatic titles. The first wave floods X and YouTube like bursts of interpretation. Robert Darrow confronts Clint Eastwood. A fearless generation or one without breaks? Clint fires back with brutal elegance. Character doesn't need Wi-Fi. Clash of Titans. Tradition versus revolution at the Orpheum Theatre. Hashtags like hashtag Clint versus Darrow, hashtag silence or voice, and hashtag legacy and conflict rocket to global trending topics in under an hour. Political commentators, film critics, cultural influencers all weigh in. Every line is dissected like courtroom testimony. Every frozen expression becomes a meme or manifesto. In a live stream, a film critic observes, Clint was a samurai, silent but lethal. Robert, a rebel with a cause and a camera always on. There's no hero here, just a mirror. And that's exactly what the clash provokes. Reflection. Young viewers cheer, someone finally daring to challenge the pedestal. Older generations argue respect isn't disposable. Others watch, mesmerized, as if witnessing two stars of different historical densities colliding. What began as a ceremony is now a national debate. You watching this, which line sticks with you? Did Clint's silence or Robert's restrained fury hit harder? Is legacy built with words or works? The internet doesn't sleep. The debate gets translated, quoted in podcasts, parroted. But no one denies something real happened there. A crack in Hollywood's polished surface. A fracture between what we were, what we are, and what we still hope to be. And the best, or worst, part? It was all live. The stage remains still. Robert still grips the microphone but doesn't speak. Clint, beside him, scans the crowd as if seeing through decades. No sound, no score, no coughs, no audible breaths. The silence that was discomfort is now reverence. Then, without raising his voice, Clint speaks. Not as a victor, but as someone who's seen it all, even the vanity of winning. You don't want my place, he says, measured. You want to erase my footsteps. But the ground you're standing on, I built it. The words land like a final verdict. No immediate applause. No protest. The impact is dense, internal, as if everyone in the room is forced to reckon with their own path. Robert lowers his eyes. For the first time, he has no retort. The microphone, once a weapon, now feels heavy. He switches it off and rests it on the podium with a slow, almost ceremonial gesture. Clint turns and exits calmly. His steps aren't hurried. They don't flee or gloat. They just move. Behind him, the screen plays black and white clips from his films, an unscripted yet inevitable farewell. And Robert? He stays, alone on stage, still, thinking. In this moment, the conflict dissolves. Not because it's resolved, but because it's reached its limit. One said all he could with silence and memory. The other, with voice and urgency. Now, only the empty stage stretches between them. This is the climax. Not an explosion, but a whisper no one expected. Clint's line isn't just a reply, it's a testament. A reminder that the past built the road, even when the future wants to redraw the map. The clash ends like this, with unintentional respect, shared silence, and the weight of a legacy that can't be deleted. The stage is empty now. Only the podium remains, lit by a solitary beam. The once rowdy audience sits hushed. No one claps. The moment demands quiet, and finally, everyone understands what Clint Eastwood meant from the start. On the screen, it's not Clint's face that appears, but Robert Darrow's. He stands backstage, half in profile, face washed in indirect light. No arrogance left in his expression. Just out. Just a young man who, for the first time, seems to feel the weight of a legacy he once wanted to tear down. Now just trying to understand. The camera lingers on his face, capturing every tension line. His eyes don't burn with anger or pride. They're lowered, thoughtful, maybe regretful, maybe grateful, or maybe just exhausted by a truth too vast for trending topics. The microphone waits, but he doesn't return. A soft voiceover drifts in, like a whisper escorting the exit. When the echo of one generation meets the silence of another, what remains isn't victory. It's a mirror. There are no winners that night. Just two generations who stared at each other with brutal honesty. The internet has already turned the clash into spectacle. But in the theater, what lingers is a silence thick with meaning. Clint leaves without looking back. Robert says nothing more. And the audience? They head home quietly, carrying more questions than answers. As it should be, the theater darkens. The curtains don't close. They don't need to. The story doesn't end. It just echoes inward. And so, in the heart of San Francisco, on a stage bathed in lights, memories, and lenses, what was meant to be a ceremony became a cultural mirror. Not just a clash of two men, but a collision of then and now. And maybe of what we cling to and what we're willing to leave behind. If you've made it this far, answer this in the comments. Was Robert Darrow brave or reckless? Was Clint wise or just outdated? We want your take, because this debate doesn't end on stage. It starts here with you. If this video moved you, made you pick a side, or question sides altogether, hit like. It helps us keep creating content that digs deeper. And don't forget, subscribe, tap the bell. Every week, we bring stories that pop bubbles, challenge narratives, and make you rethink what you thought you knew. Share this with someone who needs to hear. The ground you're standing on, I built it. Or maybe someone who still thinks silence is just the absence of words. See you next time. And until then, talk less, listen more. Sometimes silence says it all.